Welcome everybody to another Industry in Transition Zoom call. Very pleased to have Shirl Penney with us again today. Thank you, Shirl.
Hey, Tony. Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about the background there. We're in Saratoga, right, at the racetrack? I
am. That's right. I'm at Saratoga Springs. We have a house that's on the Oklahoma track. You'll probably see a few of the horses working out this morning. We would have seen a lot more, Tony, if I could get you out of bed earlier. Because more horses work out earlier in the morning. But you'll see some out there. It's closing weekend this weekend, so we're packing up, taking our kids down to start school in Florida in a couple of days. But excited to have one more day of summer here in Saratoga.
Yeah, and as you know, my cousin has a bar in Saratoga, 9 Maple. I'm going to give that a plug out there. But I think it's just tough for everybody because of the corona, and they can't open the way they want. And like a lot of people, they make a lot of money, during race season. They have a particular time of year, and it's tough. They can't, make it happen.
I've heard of 9 Maple, Tony. I've heard of it.
Yeah, I know. I would figure you would. Couple things. So we talked a little bit about pandemic. I want to mention, do you have any clothes that don't have a Dynasty logo on it, by the way? Because I've never interviewed you.
You have to ride for the brand. I mean, I'm looking at you, and my whole screen is filled with AdvisorHub logos and ads. But as an entrepreneur, when you start a business, it's like one of your children. So you're proudly you ride for the brand and display it any chance you can.
I see that. How is the firm doing now? We talked about 9 Maple and some of the bars in Saratoga, but how are you guys handling and holding up? First of all, congratulations, $50 billion. So I should have said that.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a milestone. Well deserved. I remember when you started, and come a long way and built something really nice. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think we're doing as well as we can given the circumstances. We are coming up on our 10-year anniversary. We started the business December 4th in 2010, and a couple years of planning, obviously, before that. But what I'm really proud of is to get the $50 billion organically. As you well know, Tony, is very difficult to do in this industry. We didn't get there by doing a bunch of acquisitions.
Exactly. We should mention that you didn't do this through acquisition. You did it, attract people to the platform. It's the old-fashioned way. But, of course, it's the way that it sticks. That's the best way. Because then you're bringing on people who want to be there, and you're approaching them and you're coming to an agreement. And I think that makes it a lot stickier and a lot more solid.
I had some conversations yesterday with some of our clients that have been with us essentially for the whole time. Clients have been with us 8, 9, in one case, one of our very first original clients. And it's amazing to see the growth and progression in their business as well. Over that time frame, we've obviously hired a lot of people. We've moved the headquarters to Florida. I mean, there's been a fair amount of change, and we've continued to evolve the platform and services and the types of clients that are coming to us now. They're in some ways larger, even more sophisticated. So look, I mean, as you know, only the paranoid survive. So you have to be the business that leapfrogs your business. The next, the firm that beats Dynasty has to be Dynasty. That's kind of how we run the business. But in terms of where we are 10 years in, getting to 50 billion, I'm proud of it, but certainly not satisfied or content. I think there's a lot more to do. And hopefully the next 50 billion is a little easier, and we have equally as much fun getting there.
Well, you've also done some stuff. You're partnering up with Marty and Bill. You got Mariner and InvestNet as partners. How's that going? Because I think it's important to talk about structure. Like you talk about building these things organically. I think there are issues in the independent space. And one of the largest issues in my mind revolves around the type of money that's coming in to it, right? So when you have a firm and then all of a sudden you have all this vulture capital come in, that changes the dynamic. I mean, it really does, right? For the people who did it, and especially if you're an advisor who came over for equity and now all of a sudden your equity is maybe has a different price structure, is worth less, there's an issue there. So you guys having kept it, above board, I'm just curious what how the relationship with Marty and Bill is going, and then how you see that evolving going forward in terms of, are you going to need more capital? Are you going to, you're going to cash out at some point, maybe? I don't know.
Well, we'll see. I'm 43, Tony, so I've got a ways to go. I'm still having a lot of fun, as I said. So we don't sit around thinking about a cash out. We think about how do we add more value to our clients, build a better business, et cetera. But specific to Mariner and InvestNet, look, Bill Krager and his late partner, Judd Bergman, longtime personal friends of mine and Ed Swinson and other partners at the firm, they really backed us before we launched the business. I was in the garage, hawking the business plan, trying to raise capital, trying to get some of these top resource partners like custodians and technology service providers like Envestnet to believe in the vision. And I get it. It's tough for them to do because they hear so many visions, and the vast majority obviously don't work. That's the nature of the beast with starting a lot of these new businesses. But they got behind us, and to now have, of the 50 billion, over 20 billion of it on our TAMP, which uses the Envestnet technology. It's really rewarding when people who believe in you, when it's more difficult to believe in you, do well as a result of it. And to then bring it now kind of full circle with having Bill Krager, who I think is one of the finest entrepreneurs in the industry, be able to join our board. They made a small minority investment in the business, which has brought our teams even closer together from a technology development perspective. We've launched the Advisor Services Exchange in partnership with Envestnet, where their current clients can now access the capabilities of Dynasty to help them run better businesses. Some of the things that we're doing there, and I saw your interview with Bill Krager, a number of weeks ago, which I thought was great. Looked like he was here in Saratoga for that interview as well. But we are using their data to help in kind of the cyborging of the businesses that they support, to help their advisors make better decisions about how to improve their business and to create better capability set for their clients. And then once they're armed with the data, then the Advisor Services Exchange and the personnel can come in and help them bring to life things around, better marketing programs, better compliance, broader, stronger tech enabling all aspects of the business. Maybe they need capital, either to take a few chips off the table or to fund M&A. So we're excited to bring all of those capabilities there. And then with Mariner, I will break a little news here for you, Tony. We haven't talked about it, but we signed a couple deals last week with Mariner. We've actually signed a number of them early on for Mariner Platform Solutions, which is a 1099 model, very innovative, I think by Marty Bicknell, who I've also seen on your podcast as well, where a lot of the advisors they were talking to, maybe for whatever reason, weren't ready to sell to Mariner Wealth Advisors, but now they can get all the benefits of their leadership, strength in the space, practice management, investment acumen with Dynasty as the middle office technology provider, kind of the best of both worlds, and then make a decision down the road if they want to have a monetization event around their business. So for us, it checked the box. Now we have the affiliation model, the 1099. We have obviously the outsourcing capability for an RIA to outsource to us. We're still doing very well in the breakaway market. We do a lot of M&A where advisors sell into our platform, and now we check the 1099 box. So when people ask us who should call Dynasty, I can now say all advisors. We actually have a solution for everyone based upon what it is they're looking to accomplish.
So you've got 6 or 7 that you've done. I mean, just talking about breakaway stuff. You got like 6 or 7 just through all this, nasty Corona time. So, what do you see? Talk a little bit about that. How that process works, and in Corona, and then what are we going to take? I'm asking everybody the same kind of thing. What are we going to take with us? Because some of the stuff works pretty well. I think you and I are the same kind of guy. We like to reach out, handshake, and do all that stuff. But doing by Zoom, it's still working. So what are you going to take with you when this is over, and what's working well now, and then what's just kind of just a piece of junk that doesn't work?
Yeah. Well, you're right. You and I are old school. I agree with that. What has been amazing to me to that point, Tony, around Zoom and the digital engagement, we have had firms now that have signed with us virtually, where we've done a virtual, we call VIP, where they're getting to know all of our people, have then signed up with us and then transitioned without me ever physically having sat and met with the advisor. So certainly,
I know you never would have thought that would have happened.
I agree.
We talked about 3 years ago. We would say that's stupid. What kind of firm? Who would go to a firm without meeting Shirl or meeting Tony or meeting whoever?
Yeah. look, we talked a lot about the need for tech enabling all aspects of the business. And I think anytime there's a shock to the system, oftentimes what you see is it accelerates trends that were already underway. So this just kind of sped things up. It took 5, 7, 10 years of what would gradually happen, and just did it all at once in terms of utilizing more digital tools in terms of how we communicate with employees, the remote work environment where now you can hire talent wherever they might be. So I think it's very good. Yes, we have onboarded 7 teams, and I think a little counterintuitive to your point. A year ago, if you'd asked me, would it in some ways be better and easier to transition a team in this environment? I probably would have said something different than what has been reality, which is it has been easier. And when you stop and think about it, it kind of makes sense. All the clients are at home for the most part. So it's a lot easier to get in touch with the clients. The technology allows now for e-signature, right? So it's a lot easier. You don't have to show up with the huge packet of papers and get everything filled out. A lot of the competitors, when you're thinking about Breakaway Advisor, as a former branch manager, you'd walk in the office, you'd dole out the accounts, the other advisors are grabbing, immediately calling. Well, that's a lot more difficult to coordinate in this environment. We're having tremendous success with it, both in terms of signing teams and transitioning teams. And a lot of the practices that we put in place, they're going to continue, frankly, because they've made our business better.
So, but the interesting thing about that, in my mind, when I hear you talking about it, and I've said this kind of before, but it's more, we've had this technology, but it's more the acceptance now. And people would have thought it was rude if you didn't show up. And boy, did that delay the process. Sure it did, for sure. Because you can find out a lot, like this. But it's the acceptance now. And going forward, I think people are going to accept it. But clearly, we're also going to roll back a little bit too, right? People are still going to you're going to start doing more dinners out and whatever, to go see people. So what do you think?
Tony, I would say of the first 25 firms that we onboarded, no exaggeration, I probably slept in the guest bedroom of 15 of them, where you're sitting down in the family room, right? No tie, relax, and you're answering all the questions to the family. I mean, they're taking their life's work, right, and they're trusting you as a partner to move it. You're right. A year ago, it would be tough to imagine that $1 billion business, I mean, these are enterprises worth 25, 30 million or more, would trust you, over a remote Zoom call, but they are. And a lot of it has to do with where our brand has come. I mean, we built a great business, and people trust the brand in large part now too.
That's what it is. And that's why, just as we're talking about this, I'm starting to think how difficult it would have been for me to go back and start Washington Wealth Management, start Stewart Partners or anything like that again now. Because when you're starting, you're right. You have to marry people, you want to, because you want to bring on the right type of, you're developing your culture. It's important for you too. So I'm thinking about, I'm not seeing so many of those startups because it's so much harder to start up. Whereas you have the advantage, Marty, everybody we just talked about, the advantage of a really good brand. And they get to know you through stuff like this, and they get it. You can make that happen. I think harder for the new ones. So that's another trend to think about. What's going to happen with this sort of burgeoning group of new entrepreneurs coming in and trying to do what we've done, start up a firm? You see that trend continuing or changing?
Well, Tony, I hope so, but I totally agree with what you just said. I do think it's getting more difficult in this environment, whether it's raising capital, having an advisor trust their life's work with you when you yourself are a startup business. The fact that there are so many entrenched larger players, to your point, and frankly, it's just really hard. Look, I launched Dynasty in the height of the last, financial crisis in 08, and I went 2 years, 7 months, and 4 days without a paycheck. I've talked about that. My wife kept track of it. Most people aren't that crazy, right, to go all in at that level and ask your best friends to come and work for nothing, for several years, and then ask advisors and clients, to put their life's work at risk and make the transition and trust us, it'll work. I mean, it's the barrier to entry, frankly, is that it's so hard to do. And I do worry about it because I think the industry continues to need more innovation. The ecosystem is growing in a lot of ways, but these advisors are rapidly professionalizing their business, and they're going to need a whole host of outsourced service providers. They're going to need capital. They're going to need, growth partners. And those businesses need to be healthy, right? You don't, as an advisor, you don't want to sign up with a new business and then find out in 24 months it's out of capital and it's out of business. So it's challenging. And what we try to do actually is mentor some of these firms. I'm not suggesting we necessarily mentor all the ones that are directly in our swim lane, but I take calls all the time from aspiring entrepreneurs. And if we can help them, we can inspire them, we can be a sounding board, we try to do it. We've recently onboarded a senior investment banker to help with internal capital development. We're looking at some M&A activity in terms of our supply chain, but we're also looking at the ability to take our cash, right, and we're pushing it out as aggressively as we can behind our clients to help our RIA clients grow through acquisition and use the capital. But we also have thought maybe we'll use some of it to invest in entrepreneurs, right? Invest in service providers that help us in terms of our integrated stack, but then mentor those entrepreneurs. And then as they do well and it adds value to our clients, we can do okay as an early stage investor in those companies as well.
Yeah, well, that's a natural, in my mind, that's a natural flow to this whole thing. And as you know, I do a lot of consulting too. It's fun to help people succeed. It makes you feel
absolutely
good. I get calls every day. It really is it's a great part about our business.
I agree. And you get to, for me on that piece, Tony, just quickly, I'm a fellow at the Aspen Institute. We spend a lot of time studying entrepreneurship and thinking about kind of the good society and the role of finance in it. And I think what happens to a lot of people is you have a certain level of success and you run so hard to get there. And now you ask yourself, what's next? And I think that this is a moment in time for Dynasty. We've created this great platform where I think about this personally and for the business is how do we graduate now from success to significance, right? What are some important things that we can do to contribute to the industry, whether it's supporting entrepreneurship, helping to attract a more diverse group of people into our industry. There's a whole host of things that I think that we can do to make an impact. And I'm excited that we're now at that. Look, we got to take care of our clients. We got to continue to grow the business, but we have a business now that is a multi-generational business. It will outgrow me, which is always the goal. But now how do we leverage it in a way that really can make lasting positive contributions to the industry? And we're really excited about that.
That brings up a point. I want to thank you. I know you're one of the sponsors of our big AdvisorHub Summit coming up, and you took an important role in it. We're the events. It's 2 days after the election, which is going to be divisive. We've got a pandemic, social unrest. We've also got these markets that are just very difficult, and a political situation that's difficult. So our business is literally dead center of all those things. I mean, we're right in there. And so I know you're sponsoring Lieutenant General West, and she's a fantastic story. Surgeon General of the Army. We'll talk pandemic, but also a great social story. Where she came to the highest ranking woman ever in the Lieutenant General in the Army, and you're sponsoring that. We appreciate that. And what was your motivation for doing that?
Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to do it. We are super excited about it, and I would encourage anyone who's not familiar with Lieutenant General West to read about her, look at her resume. It's remarkable, absolutely unbelievable. And you were such a big part of helping to bring her to the table here and allowing us to be a part of it. So thank you. But we're gonna address a whole host of very important topics around leadership, diversity, inclusion in our business, how we attract more talent, how you meet people where they are, how you address biases, whether they're known or unknown. So again, as I said, in terms of graduating from success to significance within the industry, these are important topics that I know that leaders all across the industry are thinking about. I mean, the reality is we're headed towards a very significant supply and demand imbalance in our industry, in that you now have more people than ever that need financial advice in our country, and fewer professionals to deliver it. And we as an industry, regardless of where you sit, if you're in the banks, wirehouse, IBD, RIA, we need to do more together because this is a remarkable profession. And if you think about financial wellness in this country, which is not very good, when 70% of Americans can't put their hand on $1,000 in an emergency, we all need to do more to make sure that everyone has that opportunity to live their version of the American dream, and to have that work. The financial services, the role of finance in this country is critical, and it has to work for more people for the betterment of all of us. So I'm excited about what we can do, what the industry's doing to attract more people. I do think this is a moment in time, Tony. I know you and I have spoken about this a number of times as well, where I think people are doing more than just talking about these issues. They're really focused on how do we turn thought into action, right? And how do we make tangible some goals and objectives? We formalized, just real quick, a diversity and inclusion committee. We've got a Dynasty Women's Network, and we're really putting tangible goals on paper, and we're holding ourselves and others accountable to drive that positive change. And again, we're thrilled and excited. It's early on. Check back in 3 years and hold us accountable, because this is something we're very focused on and serious about.
I think the 3-year thing is right. This is not going to happen tomorrow, right? So everybody has to kind of get their arms around that. The other thing that's very interesting about our business is you'd rather be, with certain present company accepted, you'd rather be a successful broker than a manager. The good job is the bottom job in our business, technically the bottom job. To be an advisor, you run your own business, you make your own money, you build value for you and your family, you can make your own schedule, all that kind of stuff. So to actually help the people that are, coming and starting in this job, who may not have a network, that's been my concern, and I probably read what I wrote about it too, but my concern is how do we get these folks started? If you're a first generation college, no matter what you are, man, whatever, it's very difficult. You don't have a network, and how do we help do it? And then you have a lot of firms who won't pay to have a smaller client, which is sometimes the only kind of client. And my clients were small when I started. I got $10,000. I thought that was great, And how do we do that now? It's sort of the business shifted, and it shifted in a way that took away opportunity from people, and that's a sort of a shift. And then
I agree with that. If I could just add one piece to it, Tony, I think college kids, starting out in their profession, absolutely should look at becoming a financial advisor and getting on a team and getting mentored. I say to kids all the time, it's about what you learn in your first job, not what you get paid. So see the world through that way. But also, if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast, and you're thinking about changing careers. If you're in the military, looking to retire and thinking about entering, the financial services world, I would tell you to do it. There's never been a better time. There's never been a bigger and better need than what we have right now. You can make a difference in people's lives. The industry needs talent, and it's critical. It's critical to our country. So hopefully we all do more, but more people get excited about joining this great professional. What is not lost on me and the lens that I see the world through, Tony, and this, I grew up, not much money in the sticks of Maine and no parents, etc. Everything I have, broadly speaking, in life is because my clients, my whole career, have been financial advisors. When I was, in private wealth management, in management at Smith Barney, I worked with the firm's advisors. They trusted me to help them. And we started Dynasty. We have one client. That's the advisor. We work for them. They don't work for us. So I truly love advisors. I love the profession. I love what they do for our country. And it's a wonderful business. And I just hope that we get to a point where there's too many people versus where we are now, which is not enough people that want to come into this remarkable profession.
I think one thing we need to do on the independent side, another knock on us, is that we rely too much on Merrill's training program. And I've often said the best thing you could do is fail out of Merrill's training program, and then join a great growing RIA, and you could inherit a book, and you could have a great life. We need to do more training on our end, and I think it's a matter of getting you, Marty, a lot of people together. And I think also there's going to be some convergence between the sort of middle market regional firms starting RIA stuff. There's going to be, and they have culturally they're on the same page. You know what I mean? They kind of get it. So I'm going to see. I think that's going to happen too. But I think we need to figure out a way to train people as a group. Maybe it's through colleges. But I do think it would be helpful if firms got together and figured out how to do training programs on the independent side, train people the right way, from the first part, and we'd have a different feeling workforce. I think a more inclusive workforce, and
Yeah,
it's
I
much
agree.
to try to work. Let's work with some CEOs and try to get that done.
I tell you what we've had a lot of success with is we don't call them interns, we call them summer analysts, but we've broadened this program where we onboard, and it's a long interview process. It starts around the holidays and goes through, and we hire for 3 months rising seniors, and we hire quite a number of them. We tell them coming in, this is a 3-month job interview. The best of you, in terms of fit for us, et cetera, will go back to school with a job and have all the fun you want your senior year. You're going to come out with a job at Dynasty. We have almost a dozen people now at the firm that have come through that program, and they're some of our best people. From our chief financial officer, a CFO, came through that program years ago. It's been around quite some time. It's a developmental opportunity. I have my chief of staff run it in partnership with HR. So the chief of staff develops leadership skills and management skills, et cetera. But whatever your talent strategy is for your firm, you need to have that entry-level talent strategy. And what I find is you get a chance for a relatively inexpensive amount of money to see somebody, and don't just have them get you coffee, give them real projects and throw them in the deep end of the pool and see how they handle it. We've just had remarkable success with that program.
It's fantastic. I think that's great. And the other thing is, we got to be careful when we're doing all this, helping bring people up. You can't lower the standards, right? We have to, because it's a tough business with a big fail rate. So you need to have really high standards for people, because you've got to go out there and you've got to create something out of nothing. So we need to keep those standards high. We just need to give more opportunity for people to meet the standards.
Yeah, totally agree.
Because if we take away the standards, we're going to take away the pay. We're going to take away the entrepreneurial aspect of unlimited, which is really where a family who comes from a background like yours, or somebody who just is a first gen, that you can make it for your whole family in this business. You can set up something that provides for your children and it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, and look, I'm excited. We've helped 4 teams where the senior principal is over the age of 70 go independent. Mm-hmm. And I've, again, someone who's raised by his grandfather, I had great connection to that generation. But to hear them say we're now having fun again, and how it's going to extend their time in the industry is awesome. It's a great way also for succession plan. Obviously, if you have next generation, whether it's your kids or someone who's like a kid to you have a lot more flexibility. It's more tax efficient in a lot of ways in terms of how you transfer it. So I think all roads will continue to lead that way. And the more some of the larger firms keep getting aggressive, forcing people to sign these internal retirement programs, I think the better it's going to be for us on the independent side, because people don't want to be told what to do, right? They want to have flexibility. They want to have their legacy be what they want it to be, not what some employer wants it to be. So there's a lot of positive macro demographic trends that are continuing to wear out the road to independence.
Well, I think that's another. You and I should we'll do this again, and that's another discussion, which is why these big firms keep stepping on their feet. They have every advantage, and they're just not. They just won't embrace the ethos. They won't embrace the peace, love, and understanding. Why not? Who's going to get hurt with that?
Well, I think they're good for a lot of people, but it's tough when you're that large to be, what's best for everyone. For Dynasty, the beauty of being an entrepreneur and having a business that's more nimble is we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're trying to be everything to someone, right? And that's someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, wants a partner, wants to be in a community, wants to be independent but not alone. And there's plenty of those for us to build a great business, and that's where our focus is.
Well, let's end it there, because we want people for. Is there anything else you want to talk about that I didn't get to? No,
just that you're doing a great job grooming the backyard there, Tony.
Yeah, I'm doing it all myself.
Well done.
Thank you very much. We'll do this again, and I appreciate the time, and good luck at the track if it's the last day.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.